Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMack.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest, Nessa Dove. Nessa is a singer, songwriter, guitarist. Nessa is on the path of empowerment with her most recent song titled Stay Strong. Nessa wrote Stay Strong with the purpose of reminding people to shine their lights during these dark times that we are living in this year. As a result, she has started a movement where people from all over the world are sharing their videos on TikTok of how they are staying strong. And before we get started, I am going to share a little clip with Nessa Dove's message and then one of her songs. All right, listen in.
You know the sun be shining when the storm is gone. When the darkness is falling, I'll be your sunshine. Don't you even worry, everything will be alright. Stay strong. Stay strong. Stay strong. Stay strong. No matter how many the days may come, stay strong. You know the sun be shining.
All right, welcome to the show, Nessa.
Thank you so much for having me.
And one of the things I like to ask, this show actually came about with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I wrote it before we had the pandemic, so I couldn't even fathom all these situations. But I'd love for you to share maybe about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a difficult situation and how you got back on track.
Yeah, I love this concept of rebooting. And this is exactly what happened to me during the pandemic. I'm an electric guitarist. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter. And I actually came home to Maryland to be with my family. And also, I lived in New York for the past few years, just busking and trying to pursue my music out there. And I figured that, to save costs and also to grow as an artist, I wanted to be able to record myself doing music. So I came home to Maryland. I set up like my little home studio booth and try to learn how to do all that. And I was just now ready to start recording myself and releasing new music. And just as that transition was happening, I had a song that was about the dating culture in New York, and the pandemic hit. And it was just such an awkward time, but, I felt very blessed to be home. I was with family and I had just set up the studio, but I had to figure out now what next? Like my plan for that year was, make music, learn how to produce my own music, release some music. And then throughout the summer, I was planning on going back to New York and hopefully going on, a mini tour, doing a lot of shows. So my reboot was just to figure out how to continue releasing music, feeling like, I wanted to pour myself out into the world, and that was the whole point, even in learning how to record. I was like, okay, let me get this music out, But then come pandemic time, I was like, okay, this song that I just wrote, it was called Casper, or I hadn't just written it, but I had just recorded it and ready to release. And it just wasn't relevant with what was going on. So just different conversations with people, and the own tug in my heart was just calling me to use everything that I had just, created and kind of switch it up and reboot and make it into a positive song to uplift people and encourage people in a time when it was extremely scary. There was a lot of pessimism, and I just wanted to put something optimistic. And I collaborated with other artists who actually, they also were just like, we can't go on tour, we can't do shows, So it was really a really fulfilling time to kind of be like, okay, let's bring ourselves together. The only thing we can do as artists really is just put something into the world that's going to uplift people, distract them, if anything. And so that was my quick reboot into now a world of, connecting with people virtually, doing live things, and ultimately starting the Stay Strong movement, which very naturally evolved from that song.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And so now the first song was about dating.
Yes.
And that really got worse.
Yeah, it was, right. The first song was something, it was a song I was kind of sitting on for a little while. So it was funny and ironic that, it was called Casper. It's very like silly and playful about the ghosting culture. So I was just like ready to put that out in a kind of playful way. And then as soon as I did, it was just it wasn't the right time. So I was just like, okay, what's going on? Let me look around. And then I switched everything. I was like, we need to make a song like from scratch that's about what's going on.
Yes, yes. How interesting. This has been such a time, and Stay Strong is so important, and community, especially when people are feeling very alone and stuck. As during the lockdowns, it was really difficult for anybody that likes, I'm not a homebody. I love my beautiful home, but I go out every day and hug people and meet people and do big events. And so it was such a shift for me and for my family as well, that we needed that.
Yeah.
It really made a difference. And then you got onto TikTok and started a movement. How did that go? How did you start that? When did that happen?
So that happened. So the song, we kind of came together. It was myself, a poet, a rapper, and we kind of involved other people. And we were just, trying to kind of just spread this message of staying strong. And with TikTok, we all know how songs can pick up and go viral if other people use them in their videos. So one thing that kind of we started doing was asking people to share their stories and using the song as they're sharing their story or demonstrating their life, whether that's positive or just the reality of things really suck right now, but we're going to try to stay strong through this, and hopefully in sharing, other people would feel connected. So that's kind of how it started. And, I have the song up there on TikTok, and at first we were just reaching out to people, just like, share your story. And then just people, I guess, they would type in stay strong, since there were so many things to stay strong about. I remember there was the what happened in Lebanon, just all these various things, and I just would find that the song was being used, for people who had cancer. And this one lady, she used the song several times, just showing her family support. And like they had like a car parade where everyone was just honking, just showing her love, and they were playing the song. And that's kind of, I guess, how it started. And the more people that use the song, the more, I guess, it's searchable. So that's kind of how it started on TikTok, which was still really related to the song itself. But from then, it just kind of, how I felt was okay, we have this song, people are using it to be encouraged and to encourage one another. But just very organically, I felt like doing more, because there's a pandemic, led into the Black protester, everything that was happening then. And it was just so many things. And I was like, life is like a curveball, there's going to be ups and downs. So, and mental health was another huge thing. And it's something I've also personally dealt with. So I just felt it was a time in my life to step up to a bigger purpose, and to kind of make it into more than just the song.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And talking about mental health and helping people get back on track, a lot of times people don't know what they don't know that they need to know. And so one thing that I share about on this show all the time is 211. And that's a service. If you Google 211 nationwide and in all the provinces of Canada, you Google this and you can get help for mental health, food on the table, resources for veterans, seniors, just about anybody right now. And it connects you. Maybe somebody's in an abusive home, or they have a loved one going through a serious addiction and they need to find help and they're on a budget or whatever. And so these are mostly free resources, and I share it all the time because I know when you want to reboot, you need to get to ground zero. To start, you need to have the food on the table. You need to have as much help as you can. And sometimes you don't know who to ask for help.
Yeah.
So you need to ask for help when you need it. And then it's knowing the resources that are actually there that nobody knows about. Right. I mean, I think every employer should be posting 211. Sometimes people go to work and they don't talk about what's going on at home. And so this is really important, and something that, we're aligned with our passion to help people and to keep everybody strong and back on track. It makes all the difference. And I put the intention out there that I could find every resource and give every resource I could. And someone else I was interviewing on the show connected me with the 211. I had no idea either. And so I've been sharing about that ever since. And it's just something that's so important.
That's really great. Yeah, I've never heard of 211, but that sounds really amazing. Yeah, I remember asking, I had a friend who shared her Stay Strong story and just asking what would really help right now. And she was saying that having one resource with all the resources, so that someone doesn't have to go and search and you're already feeling so bogged down that just having to look for the things that you need, you might put it off. So that was one thing of just having a place where there's a lot of resources in one place. So that's a good one, 211.
Yes. Yeah. And there's something about what happens, whether you're going through a divorce, COVID hit your business, whatever happens, you've lost a loved one. When these things happen, everything else kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
Because, you're reinventing yourself, which is a beautiful thing, but you go through financial challenges. You go through so many things. Your identity shifts when somebody's left this planet that we've loved dearly. Something like that happens. It affects the family, and it's not something that's a day. Yes. Or I think the national laws, people get 5 days off. That doesn't even that's not even enough time to think.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like COVID, the pandemic taught us, it kind of made us stop in our tracks and just see what can happen. Everything can change in like this. And when these life changes happen to people, they lose someone, I think those are other moments where you realize just how this life is, and for us, it was figuring out, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and how to ride that out. And when there is a low, having a community of people that are there, I've been there, or I'm just here for you. You want to talk, just that connection, and infusing that with music, because music is just so powerful and universal. It's universal language. And one thing I'm everyone has their corner of what they're supposed to be doing and what they're passionate about and what they're skilled at. And for me, my thing is not so much, talking about politics, talking about some of these issues that other people can talk about. But for me, it's like, what are the commonalities? Like, how can we focus on love, like the basic human, just like that. And that's what Stay Strong is. It's like, we're not judging you here. It's just like, how do we be our best selves, and how do we just like shine what we can while we can.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And I'm wondering now, your background, when did you start getting into music? When did that show up in your life?
So music was always, I was very young. My mom has said, like, when she was pregnant with me, she used to just bob me by the radio or the stereo, whatever. So I feel like it's always been ingrained in me. When I was 6, I'd be doing the little talent shows, trying to just, I had a toy guitar at the time. And so I've always loved music, and my parents really were very supportive. So I would do the talent shows and school assemblies and things like that. So it's always been a passion. And over the years, I've just kind of become more and more clear that this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to spend my time getting better at.
Yes, that's beautiful. And so parents listening in, whatever your kids are focused on, just support that. I know I have 6 children. I adopted 3 of my own from birth, and they're all my beautiful family. They're all grown in college and above now. And they had their own complete different, everyone was so individual. Their passions, what they're interested in, and I supported them all, and they're all doing what they want to do in the field they were interested in, literally when they were 5 and 6, when it started to show up, and just supporting that makes all the difference. Instead of, sometimes people pick on a child for this isn't your strength, so work harder at math. Well, they may never get calculus. That's okay, because that's not going to be what they're going to do in life.
Right.
And supporting the passions, then everything else is easier. It made a big difference for my kids. And I know during this time of my children, so my youngest is 22. We lost him December 21st last year. He had a heart condition. And my oldest is like 35 now. So it's a big group of age difference, right? And with that, we came together as a family, and it was feeling your emotions. If you need to cry, if we need to talk at 3 a.m, if we need to yell and shout or hit a pillow, whatever we needed to do to get through that time. And my daughter, I only have one daughter and the rest are boys. And so she says, Mom, I'm so grateful for this time, because we needed the universal pause. Our family, personally, we needed that time, and maybe we wouldn't have slowed down as much.
Yeah.
So we found the gift and the gratitude in what we could. And every day it's easier. And then there's holidays and it's harder again. And you go back and forward with these things, and to find ways, like for me, the show and the book is part of how can I help other people that are also going through a tough situation. And music is another thing that in our family, my gosh, we can't even clean the house unless we got music going. It's like if they were little, you want to clean the house, let's have fun, let's dance, let's put music on, and the neighbors know, oh, they're cleaning again.
Absolutely.
But it makes a difference.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful too. Yeah, I can't do any like task without music. I can't do the dishes. I can't do like anything without some music on. But no, that's really beautiful. Like just allowing kids, like you're saying with your family, just allowing them to be themselves. And I feel like people show up better in the world, like as citizens of the world, when they're not stifled and like forced to do something, if they can really just find who they are. So that's really beautiful. And I think also just like sharing your story and like doing the interviews and talking about it, I've found that the way we started with Stay Strong Stories was just like, there doesn't have to be a solution. You can just kind of talk, let it out, and just share your story. And someone else watching at the very least might be like, wow, okay, I'm not alone. There might not be a resolution here, but this happens and this person is sharing, maybe if I share, maybe I can connect with them or whatever it is. But I feel like that is healing. It's a way of healing also. but it doesn't make it any easier. But it's like the whole thing is, how are you going to deal with the situation? You know, if you can't control it, you either go on the fear side, you go, you know, completely off the rails, or you choose to, okay, I'm still here. What can I like focus on? How can I help other people? How can I stay strong? So that's kind of how the whole thing has evolved to more than, you know, the pandemic, and more than what was happening last year. Was just realizing this is the journey of life, you know, with highs and lows. So
yes. I was really blessed. I was this young kid. My parents had some health issues, and my mother had polio, this and that. And so I was sent from one home to the next, different relatives. And my grandmother had me from like 3 to 5.5 or so. And she had all these older ladies, and this is in Los Angeles. And so they came from all over. And, you know, it's very diverse. So they're coming from all over, and they're probably 75, 80 back then. And they had their stories. These were stoic, incredible business women. Back in the day when women were supposed to run businesses, they did all that. And they had their stories, getting through, surviving the concentration camp, losing all their loved ones, all these stories. And I was listening, and I thought, okay, we all will have a grand adventure, and I'm going to get through because they got through. And I chills. I feel them with me. I mean, I get chills right now just sharing about that. And it's something, and to have that connection. So when we share our stories, we share our humanity, and we're able to connect on such a different level. It's not a history book that doesn't even have real history in it, or everything just dates and numbers, and it's meaningless. It's real people and the real history and the real stories that are going to change and help our younger generations now that are our leaders. The future, they're already like really more concerned since COVID hit. All my kids, they're like, okay, now I care about politics. Now I'm involved. Whereas before, like, I'm going to school, I'm dating. It's nice, it's great. You know, go vote. But so it was a completely different mindset.
It did a lot. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like people their eyes have been opened, and people care more now, where they're seeing the reality of that things can happen. But there's something I was gonna mention. What was I? Oh yeah, you were talking about stories and being personal. I remember like when the COVID, at the height of the pandemic, all over the news was all statistics. It was all like, this person died, this many numbers, blah 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 blah, and it became like, so like they were reporting the same stuff all the time, and it became almost like desensitized. Like people could easily become detached from that, because it was just all these like horrible stories. So I was like, you know, if I was to hear or see like someone actually just being like, you know, I was bartending or whatever, I can't do that anymore, this is my life now, and like showing me their actual life, I would empathize a lot more and be like, wow, this is what's really going on, you know? So that just reminds me of your story with the elders. But yeah.
Wow, that is something. So now, what are your goals going forward with your music career? Do you have some new songs coming out, or the Stay Strong movement?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm really excited, because last year this time my plan had been to just go do shows and like try to go on some type of a mini tour. So Stay Strong kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just something I feel very passionate about, you know, pouring into that. We just started a forum-based website, so with all different kinds of topics, just for people to connect with each other, and hopefully that will continue to grow, and the community will grow of just like-minded people trying to be their best selves. And so that's happening. And then with the music, you know, we just had this it was called like the artist series. We were sharing people's stories, their Stay Strong stories. And I just kind of was talking to a lot of independent artists, and they could relate with me, where it's just like, it's hard, period, just being an independent artist. Like, how do you stay strong as an independent artist? So that kind of was a spinoff, and we did a series, just kind of having them have their moment, share their stories, share their art, share their music. And we had like this event called the Stay Strong Fest, which was last weekend. And that was really fun. That was like being able to tie in the music with Stay Strong. We had different, like, we had a doctor, some mental health therapists, two mental health people, and then we had some music industry people, and then a bunch of performers that got to just share their art. So for me going forward, I have music I want to share. I want to release music. That's in the works. Live shows and more events kind of tying in Stay Strong with the music, and just having people join our community on StayStrongMovement.org, the platforms, who just find like-minded people and continue different events, and just hopefully now just we're able to go out there and do these things live.
Yes, that's beautiful. And that's something that finally we are having some live music. I was actually at the Grove in California the other day, and now I'm in Vegas, but I go back and forth and do events, and we have some live music events finally. And I'm so happy to be able to sing and dance and be with people. And I'm kind of a famous car singer only, but just to be with people and hug people again and talk to people and see them without a mask in many cases. Right. Where you actually see the emotion and expression. And it's a little different when you're talking through a mask and you can't even see. It's a difference. There's not as much of a connection. It's difficult. So that has been really nice. And I think it's just been the last couple weeks in California that we've noticed the shift where things are really starting to open up again. And Vegas, it's been a little bit longer. And it's just probably, I think it was 2 months ago that there were some live music outdoors, and now we're getting indoor things again. So
that's exciting. Yeah, that makes me so happy. I've been slowly just like celebrating and just like putting things out, like music coming soon, live shows. And now that we just did this virtual, it was like a festival. We called it the Stay Strong Fest, I think I mentioned. And that was exciting. That alone was exciting. And then just to be like, we're coming live soon, so I totally feel that. Yeah.
Wow. And so now when you had this group of artists and you were all talking together, was there a theme or a connection with the same struggles through this time, or how people are getting back on track overall in the performing industry?
It was hard. I talked to different artists. Like I talked to musicians who were just like, it's overwhelming. I talked to an artist, a visual artist. He draws, he paints, very, very talented. And he was just like, I was like, well, I haven't seen you posting. He was just totally MIA from social media. And I was like, are you just not inspired? And he was just telling me that he has so many ideas. Like it's not that he doesn't have the inspiration, but he was just overwhelmed. Like people were overwhelmed. The money obviously was a concern for people. They can't go out and showcase. They can't go, do tours. So yeah, it was hard. So I feel like the common struggle is just, finding a way to earn the income and finding a way to not feel completely bogged down in your little space of creating, like here, this is my zone of creating. And thankfully, with Stay Strong, I was able to have a lot of connection with people because, I was having a lot of Zoom calls. It's probably the most connected I've been, even though it's all been virtual. So that's been really interesting. I feel like I've grown a lot just in my connections and my, just really kind of broadening my world versus just like, music, show after, whatever it is. So for me, it's been a blessing, but I do know that, there's some people where it's just, you're just in your little space. You're not socially connected. You feel awkward and it's too much. So I'm really excited for them to be able to now, get out. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that the income and the groups and crowds are going to definitely show up just because we're so hungry for that. We've all missed it. It's like, oh my gosh, there's an event. Quick, let's go. And my daughter will just go. And and it might not be exactly our favorite music. We'll be like, okay, but we're gonna dance.
Right.
We're gonna just
people are excited. This
we're
is the
so
best time.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like as a band or as any kind of artist, this is the best time to get out there and just play the shows. People are hungry and everyone's trying to just have a good time. So that's the positive, I guess, from it. And not taking things for granted. Like now it's just like enjoying that moment of being out there. So
right. Now, I have a question that I ask every guest, and that is, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self, maybe 10 years old or somewhere in that age range? What advice would you give yourself?
Wow. 10-year-old, huh? Let me think. Where was I at when I was 10 years old? Okay. I would tell myself to relax, even at 10. I would tell myself to relax. I would tell myself to enjoy, to, continue expressing myself, and to look around and not feel, let me think. I grew up in Canada. And it was a great experience. I loved that. And I was always one of those kids, like I wanted to do well, so I always put a lot of pressure on myself to do well and to, get good grades and all of that. I would tell myself to just relax. Things are going to be good. Enjoy your life, love yourself, and continue just like expressing yourself. I was pretty expressive. So I just tell myself to continue doing that. I would, to give a good answer to this, I would have to think harder about it. But yeah, I feel like along those lines of just like relax, enjoy being a kid. It flies, time flies,
Oh, definitely. I still feel close to 21, very close. I have kids older. So it's one of those things. As long as we never grow up, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Completely. Just keep having.
Yeah.
Yes. It makes all the difference. There's even science and spirituality. There's all these studies about just having fun.
Yeah.
Music, connecting to music, having fun. That's when learning takes place. You could study all day, but if you don't take a break, take a bike ride, go sing and dance, go do something, you won't learn as much because the learning takes place during the fun times.
That's true.
The brain wiring, it's just ridiculous. So we need that. We need that in our lives. And especially now, I've worked with families that I remember one cute couple, and they did give me permission to share, but I won't say who, but they brought their work home, and then their kids came home for homeschool because the schools are closed. And they were so concerned about saving the business. Everything was serious. And it had been months, and then the couple started fighting, and the kids were fighting, and the mom, wanted this session with me, and then the dad came on, and I was like, and they were complaining because their children were fighting, and I was like, so are you fighting? And they were like, yes. And I was like, when was the last time you just had fun as a family? Took a day off? They weren't even taking a day off. They were everything. There was no recess. It was school. It was very regimented. And then I gave them a challenge just to have fun. We put on the music, dance, do fun things in the house instead of just the chores, make it fun. Go out and do some crazy stuff, whatever you like, go horseback riding, something in nature. And it shifted their whole relationship, and the kids' grades went up. The parents stopped fighting, the kids stopped fighting, and it was, what was it? The cure was fun.
Fun laughter. Yeah.
Their business improved. The business improved.
Yeah.
Because they had the breathing. The time to breathe, to relax, to heal, to just not be so stuck on the news and work and stress, especially for younger kids to see those numbers, that crazy news we were watching, that we don't really need that. It's scary. It was scary for them. And when the parents started having fun, they were like, okay, we can relax. It's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. That makes total sense. Yeah, learning to just be in the moment and have fun while doing it. And I guess that's why people take breaks during work too. You just have to take your break and then you come back more focused and I think I heard something you said. I think it was on one of your other interviews or something you were saying about it's about how you show up. And that's something that I've heard this lady, Marianne Williamson, talk about this. And I just remember thinking that is so key. Like, even if you're working hard at something, it's like you have to kind of be like, are you going to grit your teeth through it? Or is it going to be like, I'm doing this for a reason, or like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm showing up as my best self, or just like more lighthearted with it. So yeah, I feel like that is pretty important. What would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Oh my gosh, my 10-year-old self, I was homeless on the streets in Hollywood and thought I was on a grand adventure and barely found foster care at 13 and a half. I was so free then.
Wow.
I had no problem. I mean, you would think that sounds terrible. I was just living life and enjoying things fully. I think I would tell myself, probably, I really had a great experience in the foster care system, but emancipated at 15. So I didn't stay so long, but it was such a gift to not have to work and just to go to school and be a kid again for a few years and to enjoy that. And it would be that same thing that in the lines of have a little bit more fun. You don't have to be a little grown up. I was. And so for me, that would have been just go play and it's all going to work out. So
that's remarkable. First of all, you were homeless at 10. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. It was an experience. And I adopted 3 children out of the foster care system. And I also was a mentor for many years. When I started my gift store at 23, I created a program where I had over 200 kids that came through my program that are emancipating. Nobody will hire you when you're coming out of foster care. It's really hard to get hired. And so I had a program, open source learning, and you work with me for 6 months doing the training. And then I give you the resume and help you get the job where you get paid so you can actually like support yourself. And so I did that. And so it was something that it brought me a lot of compassion and connection. My daughter actually works as a counselor now with a girls' home with pregnant moms and their babies. And so it's something that we continue to give back. And I was very grateful that there was something I didn't know at 10. I didn't know this foster care existed, and they're not all great, but it's better than nothing. And so, and there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to make it better, but it's something that's always had my heart, and I've been very blessed because I've given back and I've always been blessed.
Wow.
One way or another, you know what I mean? So
that's awesome. That's like a classic, I guess, story of turning whatever your situation is and like making it, rebooting and making it like into something really positive. So
yes. So I'm right there with the strong song, Staying Strong. And yes, I love it. So now where can we can see you on TikTok. How do we look you up there and everywhere else? And how do people buy your songs or music? How does that work?
So TikTok, it just happened more, I guess, on its own. You can look up Nessa Dove and then the sounds and look for Stay Strong. But the song is on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes. We have a music video which was just showing people during quarantine working, and it's a very like homemade type of video that people might relate to. So that's on YouTube, Stay Strong music video. But for now, everything is really on our Instagram. So on Instagram, the Stay Strong Movement, and it's spelled MVMT. So Stay Strong MVMT on Instagram, and Nessa Dove, NESSADOVE on Instagram. Those are the social media platforms. But for anyone who would want to connect more with us, StayStrongMovement.org is where I was mentioning about the forum of just people sharing their stories. And on there, we're having even if it's not like a testimony of it's been a great situation, it's just, I need a prayer. I need, like, I just want to just connect with people. For me, I'm a spiritual. There's people on there that are Christian. There's one lady who's like, I'll do prayers with people. And for me, it's just whatever you are. If you want to be prayed for, if you just want to be loved on, if you want to just come and just connect, different topics, then I would encourage people to sign up. It's free. It's just email address and name, and to start mingling with like-minded people.
Nice. That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We will be looking for your music. And for those tuning in, we will be back after these messages. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Overview of the Boots formula. In December of 2017, I lost my house, my car, and my cat due to a fire. It sounds like a country music song, but that was my reality. And yet another rock bottom situation after a long period of doing really well. When we're able to retrain our minds to focus on the positives, we're able to enjoy more of life, even while we're rebuilding and rebooting. We're going to starve those negative thoughts, not feeding them with our attention, time, or energy. When you focus on the good parts of your life, those things that you can be grateful for in this moment, that energy will bring even more good things your way. Contribute and utilize your unique talent. You're not thinking about the problem at hand. You're not showing up for approval. You're just being your best self. You use your rock bottom to set the direction for your life beyond this rock bottom situation. It's important that you are really honest about where you are in this situation. You can't lie because you don't want to give up your personal responsibility. You have to own every part of this and realize it could be worse. It could be better, but this is it. If you aren't able to be honest about where you're starting from, you won't be able to clearly see where you want to go or how to get there. The next letter of Boots will help you answer that. The second O is for order of operations. The third step of the Boots formula is finding the order of operations. When you're in a rock bottom moment, there are certain steps you know you need to take to get out of it, and you need to complete those steps in a certain order. T is for thinking. The fourth step of the Boots formula is thinking. If you recall your thinking at the most successful points in your life, it's probably vastly different from your thinking when a crisis brings you to a rock bottom situation. Often, at the toughest times, our thinking goes to survival. We lose sight of the possibilities and opportunities that are before us. This is where thinking comes into play. It's vital to have a strong mindset in order to keep our boots on and walk out of a rough spot in life. Thinking leads you to a clear vision of where you want to go on that map of your desired outcome. You've made the decision that you're going to New York. Your bags are packed. You have an idea of how you're going to get there. You know the steps you need to take, though you may not know how the hell you're going to take them all. But you've made up your mind. That's where you're going. Tony Robbins often says, it's in the moment of decision that one's destiny is shaped. That decision is the thought that comes before the action steps required to reach your new goal. Everything happens in this step, in that decision. You can see it, feel it, embody it. Things start to show up because you're looking for them and you're open to them. You'll start getting the results you want just because that decision is in your mind. It becomes that real to you. Once you have that clear vision in your mind, you have to see yourself as if you already are living in your desired reality. You're just doing the steps to get there. S is for stepping up. The fifth and final step of the Boots formula is a literal step, stepping up. You've gone through the first 4 steps. You've decided how you're going to show up, you have a picture of where you're going, you know the steps you need to take, and you've made the decision to actually do something. It would be nice if you could just sit, think, and meditate your desired outcome into being. But that's not the way it works. There is some validity to the idea of manifesting what you want, but at the same time, you have to believe enough to actually go out there and take the risk. You have to overcome your fear of giving your first presentation, making your first speech, or writing your first book. You have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to take those steps. S is for stepping up by taking the personal responsibility required for a real reboot. While the B in Boots is about being in the present with who you are in the situation, S is for taking those steps toward the future you want. Although there will be many times in life where we have little or no true personal responsibility for an event that alters our lives, it is always a gift to own your own response and reactions to situations. What can you do to shift the energy and step up to your part in the situation? In order to reboot, one must be willing to step into action. This last step ties back to the first one. It all comes back to being. How are you going to be when you're going through this? Sometimes it's ugly, dirty, not pretty, and certainly not fun. Nobody's going to help you move, so you have to pack all the boxes yourself. Procrastinating isn't going to help. You just have to take those action steps you defined in the order of operations. When you first start, it's overwhelming because you feel like you're still buried in the situation. Chaos is all around. But because you've done the first 4 steps of Boots, you have an action plan. You're not doing 1,000 steps today. You just have to take 1. You do the things that you mapped out one by one, and that helps you see, okay, I can do that. You have clarity on the action steps, so now it's time to actually get moving. Are you ready to strap on your boots and start walking? From rock bottom to moment of empowerment. You may be thinking, okay, now I know the formula, but what does it look like in action? Great question. Let's look at the rock bottom moment I told you about at the beginning of the chapter to see how I applied the Boots formula to get back into right action. After the fire, after my cat ran away, and after my car was totaled, I was in a funk for a week and a half or 2 weeks before I even noticed. I don't know if it was shock or depression or overwhelm. Probably all of that. It was a lot of loss in a short period of time. But then I had to go back to work, and I needed a way to get there. Being. For that first week or 2, I was being a victim. I grieved the cat, the car I had recently bought in cash and was very proud of, my house, and the whole lifestyle I had just rebuilt after the divorce, another loss that I had recently overcome. All my beautiful, most favorite things were in that house, and I lost them all. I was also grieving over the plan to have one of my children move back in with me while she went to college. She'd already been having second thoughts, but she didn't want to tell me and risk hurting my feelings. When I ended up in the tiny house in the hills, we both realized it wasn't going to happen. It felt like a really shitty place to end up. I wondered, how the hell did I get here in just a 5-day period? As I was going through my own rock bottom situations, I had to ask, who do I need to be? I had to own my little strength as well as my many weaknesses. I had to be vulnerable enough to admit those weaknesses in order to use my strengths to help me through. I had to own my truth, own myself, and trust that I was going to do the steps to get out of this rock bottom. I also had to take care of myself. I had a good reason to have a pity party, but I had even better reasons to get out of that funk and start asking, what can I do? When I was showing up with an active mindset instead of the pity party, it made a big difference. Orientation. Evacuating from the fire and the immediate aftermath was a terrible situation. I could have blamed the fire. After all, I lost almost everything. But that would have meant giving power to that fire and giving up my own power over the situation. Blaming somebody or something else puts you in the victim role. And I didn't want to be a victim. I didn't want to sit there and feel powerless. I wasn't in control of the fire itself, but I was in control of my reaction to it. I was in control of how I decided to wake up in the morning and what I decided to do with each day, how I wanted to move forward. After the fire, I had to do a big assessment to see where I was financially and to recognize that emotionally, I was down the hill. I was shocked and depressed. A lot of my friends had lost their homes too, and the fires were still burning. Everybody in the entire community was suffering. We were all affected, somber behind our respirator masks. Schools and businesses were closed, so children stayed home with their parents, who couldn't go to work anyway. People who had lost their homes were relocated to emergency shelters. It was very devastating. I felt for everyone around me, but I was in the middle of it too. To orient myself, I had to ask, what are my options? What are my resources? Who can help me? What can I do to help other people? Then I had to say, wow, I have to use that boot to kick myself out of this. Order of operations. It was during this stage of the process that I realized I had to use every single resource that I had. I had to go through boxes of stuff I rescued from the fire. I had to pay bills and file my insurance claim. I got a beat-up Nissan, really old and funky, that barely ran. The windows rolled down using a hand crank, and you had to lock the doors manually. Nothing was automatic at all. It needed a ton of maintenance, but it just wasn't worth putting money into it. I had to take the car up and down a canyon road, though, so I paid to fix the brakes and steering. While I was waiting for the mechanic to finish, I went and bought a fancy steering wheel cover and a bunch of motivational stickers that I plastered all over the inside of the car. I had it waxed and cleaned and made it the best damn beater car you could drive. I was going to rough it in style. That was when I started to get out of my funk a little. I knew that I had to focus on the positive, not think about what I had lost, and look instead at what I was going toward. I couldn't make it down the hill to the gym to work out until the car was fixed, so I got out my old rebounder trampoline and said affirmations while I worked out, which you'll learn about in the exercise at the end of this chapter. The neighbors thought I was crazy. I let other people who had lost their homes stay in the other units of my home rental, helping people who were just as bad off as I was, but who didn't have a mobile home to go to. I made space by shifting through the things I had rescued and donating anything I didn't absolutely need to other people who needed them more than I did. I felt better helping people than I did sitting around in my pity party. I couldn't get stuck blaming the fire for all my problems. There was nothing I could do to change what had happened. All I could do was figure out how to move forward and up-level by figuring out how to help other people who were affected and even worse off than I was. Just the act of getting up and doing something, being able to contribute and be involved, was empowering. Thinking. I had to have the thoughts, the vision of what life could look like. It was a lot of mind over matter. Anytime it got to be too much, thinking about my loss, I said, that's silly. I don't have time for that. I don't mean to sound like I was always cheerful. I just kept laser focused only on what I could be grateful for.
Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So The formula is designed to help you through any situation.
To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.